Welcome to the Legends of Classic Rock, she who is the closest you're going to get to Jimi Hendrix. In addition to being the sister of Jimi, the much younger sister of Jimi, she is also the CEO of Experience Hendrix. Hi, Janie. Welcome to Toronto.
Thank you.
It's great. It's so great to see you because I've heard you. Last time around, I did a special on Valleys of Neptune, and I heard interviews from the U.S., I think. You have this voice that's so soothing.
Well, thank you. I don't think my kids would agree with you, but thank you.
I guess it depends on the content you're delivering and how good they've been. How many kids do you have?
I have 4 sons.
Wow. Age range?
18 to 23.
Keep you busy?
They did, yes, and now they're kind of doing their own thing, so that's good.
Any musicians among them?
You know, on their private lifetime, but not for a career now.
What
Pianist, guitarist, drummer, singer.
For fun?
For fun, all for fun.
They must be Jimi fans.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
how do you not?
How do you not? Although every now and then you hear people say, I'm not really into the Beatles. How do you say that statement too?
Well, there's a rule in our house. See, when I was growing up, we weren't allowed to listen to any radio stations that weren't playing Jimi. My dad would not allow it. Now, he had a great vinyl collection, so we could listen to R&B and that, but Jimi was really, when it came to radio, they had to play Jimi or we weren't listening to it, so.
What do you think Jimi would think 40 and a bit years later of the fact that there's still music coming out in his name, some of which hasn't been heard before? What do you think he would say? Would he be embarrassed?
Well, I mean, he created it. It's his music. It's his soul, really, in celluloid, sort of. You know, it's like, really, when Jimi passed, the only thing that we had left of him was his music, and he created it for people to hear. So, I think that if he were still alive, and what he would say is that he would be creating more music, and he would be part of the thread of our history of music, not as we know it today, but differently. So I think that we're talking about 2 different parallels. But as far as his music goes, you know, he never played the same solo twice. So we can give you different versions of different songs because his guitar was like a beautiful paintbrush that created different artistries and different originals, really, even though they're songs that you might recognize the titles, but the solos and the songs are a little bit different in the way the rhythm is.
Now, for amateur musicians like myself, we don't play the same thing twice just because we can't remember. Do you think Jimi, once he had done it, it was done, and then the idea of being creative was to do something a little different? Was that sort of his view of it?
You know, as he so pointedly put, he got bored a lot, and he just would try different things. And I think a lot of how he was is like how you feel that day, you know. And he thought of feelings as colors, so feeling blue or red or purple or green or yellow, and all of those reflect 2 different moods for him. And so consequently, the songs that we're able to give you and the huge vault of music that we have in store for the next probably 7 more years, maybe 10, depending. We still find stuff, so it is amazing what a workaholic he was when it came to music.
Now, we have this impression, since he used the word vault, we think of a bank, we think of a large metal room with a big door and a combination that only you have. Is everything kind of housed in one place? Kind
of sort of like that. Yeah. I mean, it's all temperature controlled. It's a room within a big building that is all temperature controlled. It's I haven't measured it. I'm just guesstimating. It's either like 30 by 30 or and really tall ceilings, and there's shelves not only all the way around the perimeter but also down the middle. And yeah, there's a key. and only a Kofi will have that key. So.
Where is it? Is it in your bag?
No.
Show me your bag, because it's pretty cool. Show the camera, show the world your bag.
So this picture was taken when I was 6, and this picture is what I call the promise.
Wow.
Jimi was making a promise to me that he would always take care of me. And I, in turn, was saying that when I grow up, I'll always take care of you. Only consequently, I wasn't really thinking that he wasn't going to be here anymore. So it all worked out, though. We fulfilled and are fulfilling our promises.
You continue to take care, and really, the protect is the word I hear the most. It's one you've used. Who are you protecting Jimmy from?
Well, I think I look at it more like really protecting the authenticity of his music and his legacy. And it's not necessarily protecting him from anyone in particular. It's just making sure that his music stays in the family and his legacy lives on. My dad chose certain family members to run Experience Hendrix, and we do so with the mind and the mission to keep Jimmy's music as pure as possible, and bringing it to the fans because they're the ones that really desire to hear it, and once again fulfilling Jimmy's mission of putting his music out there for people to hear.
When you hear Jimmy's song on the radio now, is there a different context to the way you feel about it, being in the position you are to be the keeper and the protector of this great legacy?
I think, first of all, to answer your question in a different way, it's just that Jimmy's music has been really the thread and the soundtrack to my life. So there's different songs that reflect different parts of my life. So if you hear like the original core songs and from the core albums, they definitely sometimes remind me of times of when I was younger or when he was performing or when he was here. And then of course the posthumous releases, which we spent a lot of time in the studio listening to and transferring the music. It brings about a different feeling, but it's all still like the love of Jimmy and just knowing that he's around. A lot of times if I'm someplace, if I'm say in another country or in a restaurant or a store or something and I hear his music, I don't know, I just get this feeling like I am supposed to be here. Like in the whole big perspective of life, I am supposed to be here at this time in this place because Jimmy's here with me. Now the song probably would have continued to play whether I was there or not, but that's just how I get this feeling like, oh, he's, watching over, or he's kind of, his presence is here.
Was it fun to watch him play live in a small room? At home, for instance, did he break out the guitar and just play for you?
No, actually he didn't.
He didn't?
No, because he really used that time because he was only home maybe for a couple days or a few days. And so he really spent a lot of time with the family and wanting to talk about what they were doing. Now, we all want to know what he was doing, but he would almost like really be embarrassed to talk about some of the things that he was going through or seeing on the road, but we were excited to hear about his experiences with the Stones or the Beatles or Joni Mitchell or whoever he was hanging out with. But he wanted to know about what we would think of as our mundane lives of we're just going to school, going to work, hanging out with this person or that person. But he would always want to know about those things because it was almost in a way he was missing out by being on the road. Even though he had this exciting life, he kind of felt like he was missing out on
the normalcy of life, right?
Right.
I mean, how unreal would it be to be in that position? Clapton, in particular, the stories Clapton talking about, how much he respected and loved Jimmy and how he went and bought a stack of black Strats when black Strats weren't really in vogue, so to speak. I think it was in Nashville or something. He went and bought a whack of Strats, and he had one earmarked for Jimmy, and he didn't end up giving it to him because Jimmy subsequently died within a day of him wanting to go and see him. And Townsend talking about how the Who had to open for Jimmy, or no, Jimmy opened for the Who, and then Pete walks out and he goes, "What do I do?" Well, how do you follow Jimi Hendrix?
Right.
And fans, myself included, and obviously you, talk about the greatest guitarist that ever lived. And it sounds like a hyperbole or such a bold statement, but in the context of Jimmy, it just kind of works. I don't feel badly saying it. You talked about Jimmy being embarrassed. We've heard for years about how shy he could be about his own voice. What do you think he really thought of his playing?
He was a perfectionist, so I think it's said that a musician puts in 10,000 hours into his artistic trade to perfect it or to become this genius. And I think that he put in way more than that, but he never felt like he had achieved what he really wanted to. When he was last in Seattle, which was July of 1970, he had told my dad, I'm working on this new kind of sound and this new kind of music, and you're going to be doubly proud. And so he was always trying to perfect it and get to a different place in his music. So.
Going to get into the stuff, there's so much coming out. November 16th?
Correct, yeah.
Tell us a bit about it in broad strokes. There's a lot of music here, and there's a documentary that I'm really excited about, and so are fans. In broad strokes, tell us about the package.
West Coast Seattle boy is a term that Jimmy wrote in his own handwriting. It's what he called himself, being from Seattle, born and raised. And so he kind of goes from West Coast Seattle boy to Voodoo Child, and that's really what the box set is about. It's 4 hours of never before heard versions of songs. Yes, you'll recognize the titles, but it starts from like the early 60s and goes on until 1970. So it's an anthology of his life in music, and when he played with Little Richard and the Isleys and on up until he was in the Experience and had went through, played with, of course, Mitch and Noel, and then Billy joined in, and it just really shows you the evolution of his music and how it was evolving from his position as a sideman in these bands to the leader.
There's a whole disc of him being a sideman, isn't there?
There
It's
is,
great
there is,
stuff to
and
hear.
it is because you know it's a new perspective of hearing Jimmy, because you're used to hearing him up front instead of like in the background, and you know he didn't follow directions very well.
No.
So he was kind of supposed to be more like the rhythm, but you know he made sure that he soloed, and you do hear it, which is great for us, you know. The Voodoo Child, the documentary, is everything in his own words. So things that he wrote, things that he spoke in interviews, and a lot of it is him speaking. And then we also had asked Bootsy Collins to narrate. So where we don't have Jimmy's actual voice, it's Bootsy reading the letters that Jimmy writes from the Army to my father, different interviews that perhaps were written versus said, and Bootsy speaks all of that. So after a while, you kind of forget it's Bootsy, and you really are hearing Jimmy's voice as he was thinking or feeling it, because it's not someone's interpretation. It's not someone that says, yeah, I was there, and this is what happened, and maybe their memory isn't quite right, or, you know, speaking for Jimmy is not something that people can really do, because we don't really know what was in his head or his heart or his mind unless he actually spoke it. So that's what the documentary and the bio is more about. It's him, and it's everything that he had to say to the world that was written or said.
What's something you discovered in the research and in the unearthing and in the finished product that you either hadn't recalled or didn't know?
Oh gosh, there's just so much. You know, when you watch the movie, it's like, I guess the overall broad strokes would be that, you know, he had such a fabulous sense of humor, you know, and he was, yeah, a bit shy, but he had a lot of funny things to say. And so growing up, a lot of times people would say to my father, or then later me, what was Jimmy really like? And that's probably one of the biggest questions that people say, because it's like you see him on stage and you see how sexual and how vivacious he is, and, you know, extraordinary guitar player. But behind the scenes, like what is he really like? And so people kind of imagine that stage performer comes home, but it's not the same. And so when you watch the movie, you kind of get an idea of, oh, he's just like a regular guy, and he's funny, and he's sweet, and he's got a great smile and a wonderful laugh. And,
The smile.
and he's got some really interesting things to say. And that's what people really learn from the movie and from, of course, the music.
Explore Music wears English Laundry apparel.